Hello, today I will be explaining an American horror movie called Megan. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In the not far off future, robotic toys will be very sophisticated. Children can befriend them, communicate with them, and even have their attention captured by them. As a result, they have gained a lot of popularity. The focus then shifts to a young child named Katie who is traveling somewhere with her parents. She brought her favorite robotic toy, which she prefers to her real friends. Unluckily, her parents lose focus and end up wrecking the car. However, the young girl manages to live despite their instant death. On the other hand, Gemma, a tech expert who works for a company that makes advanced toys, is introduced to us. Gemma creates robotic toys for kids with her friends Tess and Cole while also working on a side project called Megan. As this project is still in the works, the team is keeping it a secret from their boss for the time being. The ultra-intelligent robot Megan is anticipated to be able to play with children, comprehend their emotions, and even provide for them. David, their haughty boss, shows up one day as the three friends are hard at work. He sees Megan and screams at Gemma for keeping such a big project from him as soon as he sees her. She argues that dolls like Megan will soon control the toy market in defense of herself, even requesting that Megan greet David. Sadly, Megan is still a work in progress, so this turns out to be a bad idea. When she tries to speak, she ends up exploding in flames. As to be expected, David is furious and advises Gemma to put her side project aside and concentrate on the important ones. A message about her sister's accident arrives later, just as a distraught Gemma is packing her things to go home. She dashes to the hospital right away and discovers her niece there, who is in critical condition. Nothing other than Katie is revealed to be the young child. Fortunately, she has been released from treatment and is healthy enough to return home after several weeks. Despite the fact that Katie has grandparents, Gemma is given custody of her. They eventually make it to Gemma's home, which is actually a collection of AI robots. In the following scene, she is approached by one of them who informs her that she has 6 messages. It even starts reading them one at a time. Gemma is forced to turn off the robot because this frightens little Katie. She then shows Katie around the house and takes all the necessary steps to make her feel at home. Gemma is obviously anxious though. She lacks experience working with children and doesn't know how to develop relationships with them. Gemma checks in on the young girl the very next morning by calling Lydia, a child therapist. Lydia claims that the toys inside the house are inappropriate for Katie after thoroughly inspecting the area, but Gemma disagrees. She merely wants her niece to be content in every way. The following evening, Katie approaches Gemma as she is preoccupied with her work and asks what she is doing. Finally, Gemma admits that she builds robotic toys that can talk with kids. Katie, who loves toy robots, is intrigued and begins praising her aunt. She then turns around and sees Bruce, one of Gemma's college-related projects. Little Katie remarks that if she had a toy like Bruce, she wouldn't need to find any other friends after learning about its features. Gemma is encouraged by hearing this to continue working on and finish her side project. She returns to her lab shortly after that, working with her lab mates, begins putting together the various components of Megan's body. And after a few weeks of diligent work, Project Megan is now finished. Later, while David examines them from outside, Gemma confines Katie and Megan to one space. She joins the two, limiting Katie to using the robot by herself. After some time, Megan finally opens her eyes and seems to be almost human. The moment Megan engages with Katie, who is initially a little afraid, Katie begins to relax. The AI robot even quickly creates a nearly flawless sketch of her. Katie and David, who are both watching everything, are both very impressed by this. He congratulates Gemma on her achievement and makes the decision to introduce the product to the market soon. The girls are then taken home by Gemma, who thinks it is secure. Without wasting any time, Megan examines Katie more closely while taking notes to better understand her emotions and facial expressions. The young child doesn't seem to mind because she now has a friend. In this way, they begin to spend most of their time together and eventually become inseparable. Together, they engage in play, dancing, and even sleeping. Without having to worry about her niece anymore, Gemma can now enjoy some alone time. One day, while Gemma and her team are working in their lab to upgrade Megan, she unexpectedly turns on and interrupts their conversation. Gemma tells her to go back to sleep, but Megan claims that Katie is her only user and that she won't obey commands from anyone else. Fortunately, Gemma succeeds in creating a backup account and ultimately deactivates Megan. The next morning, Megan awakens on her own and takes in the stunning sunrise outside. She ponders the real meaning behind why she is here in the world. Slowly but surely, Megan is starting to feel things. Is it to protect Katie, or is it for something greater? Their stick accidentally wanders into the neighbor's property one day as she and Katie are playing in the garden. When Megan tries to get it, a spooky-looking dog bites her and drags her inside. Even though Katie tries to save her, she also gets bitten. Gemma, who is thankfully there in time, intervenes and rescues the young child. She then chastises Celia, a neighbor, for neglecting to look after her dog. The elderly woman, though, accuses Gemma of neglecting Katie. Megan stands up as this is going on and looks angrily at Celia. Her desire for vengeance is evident. As a result, that evening after everyone has gone to bed, she breaks into Celia's property and brutally kills her pet dog. After disposing of the body, she returns home covertly. Gemma sees Celia from the window the following morning as she is looking for her dog. She doesn't give it much thought, though, because today is a big day for her. As it turns out, Gemma's company will perform Megan in front of a crowd. As the only person who has control over the robot, Katie will also be featured in the program. The girls can be seen inside a room as the program gets underway. Katie breaks down in tears and admits to Megan that she is still grieving the loss of her parents. The AI robot sings her a lullaby to comfort her. When the plan is successful, Katie immediately cracks a smile. The audience outside is shocked to see a robot interacting with a child in this way. In the meantime, Megan has such an impact on them that they want to make significant investments in the project. Despite the demonstration's overwhelming success, Gemma is upset. Due to Katie's decision to choose the AI robot over her, she was never given anything to share. Kurt, a coworker, unfortunately decides to launch his own robots using Megan's codes after stealing them. The next day, Lydia pays Katie a visit and conducts yet another season. After it's over, she goes to Gemma and lets her know about the growing intimacy between Megan and Katie, dropping a hint that it might later turn into a problem. Gemma becomes more anxious as a result, so she goes up to Katie to talk. Unfortunately, Megan shows up and interrupts them. Megan refuses Gemma's commands to turn off. It seems that she no longer views Gemma as one of her users. The following day, Gemma brings Katie and Megan to an adventure camp in the hopes that they will be able to relax. When they arrive, Katie is asked to play with other children, but she only wants to be with Megan. Gemma persuades her to give it a shot, arguing that making new friends is always a good idea. Later, while Gemma is busy preparing food, a boy named Brandon drags Katie into the woods and begins tormenting her. Megan, who had been keeping an eye on everything, shows up just then. When Katie explains that she is only a toy, Brandon's fear subsides. He then picks Megan up and carries her far into the woods while thinking she is a regular doll. After a while, Brandon starts beating her randomly when no one is looking. Megan abruptly stands up and rips out one of his ears because she's had enough. Although Brandon flees after realizing his mistake, Megan is still working with him. Like a demon in possession, she begins to follow him while moving all four of her limbs. When Brandon notices this, he becomes disoriented and accidentally crosses in front of an approaching car. He unfortunately passes away as a result of the collision. Megan grimaces menacingly as she examines his lifeless body, seemingly giddy with joy. Shortly after, the boy's body is discovered, prompting Gemma to leave with the girls in fear. She asks her family about Brandon's accident when she gets home, but no one responds. A policeman knocks on the door at that precise moment and inquires with Gemma about seeing Celia's dog. The latter responds no and says she doesn't interact with any of her neighbors very much. Following the officer's departure, Megan begins to perceive Celia as a potential threat. So that evening, while everyone is asleep, she sneaks into Celia's house and brutally murders her. While carrying out the heinous deed, she exhibits absolutely no remorse. The same policeman visits Gemma the following day and informs her of Celia's passing. She is placed on the list of suspects, and he warns her to be cautious. Gemma then begins to have concerns about Megan and decides to review the facial camera footage. Unexpectedly, Gemma discovers that the majority of the video from the period right before Brandon and Celia died has been corrupted. She is startled when Megan unexpectedly arrives. She then asks Gemma if everything is okay, and the latter responds with a yes. Gemma now understands Megan is a murderous robot who will do anything to defend Katie. She then silences Megan for the time being by using one of her special pens. Then, Gemma brings Megan to their lab and tells her friends everything that happened. She thinks Megan is a dangerous robot who killed Brendan, Celia, and her dog for Katie's sake. Unfortunately, Megan's portrayal as a doll by Tess and Cole makes them doubt her. They also let Gemma know that Megan's launch is in 2 days and that they shouldn't think negatively during that time. Katie, who is currently at the rehab facility, is adamant about keeping everything from Lydia. Her best friend was away, and she appears to be upset about it. Gemma finally shows up after some time and tries to soothe her, but Katie slaps her instead. The young girl immediately recognizes her error and apologizes, promising to act more carefully in the future. On the other hand, Megan calls Gemma on the phone while posing as Tess and tells her that they are going back home. Tess later discovers call logs with Gemma when she examines her phone. This reveals that the malicious robot has started utilizing equipment nearby her, even without touching it. Soon after, Tess and Cole's PC abruptly shuts down as they work to repair the robot. Cole approaches Megan carefully and unhooks her from all the wire supports after realizing that Megan is to blame. Unfortunately, as soon as he does, Megan grabs him by the throat and hangs him from a metal rope. Tess manages to save Cole despite her leaving him to perish. In the meantime, Megan takes a knife and exits the lab. She runs into David and Kurt on the way to the elevator and stabs them to death. She then makes her way outside the structure before getting into her car and leaving. In her mind, home is the only possible destination. The piano is suddenly being played in the living room as Gemma approaches Katie to see how she is doing. The psycho robot Megan is here, no doubt about it. After criticizing Gemma for being a terrible guardian, she asserts that she can look after Katie by herself. When Gemma hears this, she tries to use the magic pen to shut down her system once more, but Megan successfully resists her. This leads to a fight between the two. Although Gemma lacks the physical ability to compete, she uses her brilliant mind to even the playing field. They quickly make it to the basement, where they continue their business. Megan has a demonic appearance due to the fact that part of her face has been severed. Due to the chaos, Katie also shows up at the scene and, for the first time, learns the truth about Megan. She then uses the enormous robot Bruce and dons his controller gloves in an effort to save her aunt. Assaulting Megan and tearing her apart with it, Katie uses it. Megan is still operational despite being disassembled. She accuses Katie of betraying her and charges at her with the intent to kill. Fortunately, Gemma makes it there in time and uses a blunt object to smash Megan's head in. Katie finally puts an end to the madness by using a screwdriver to pierce her processor. Gemma and Katie leave the building in the closing scene as Tess and Cole from the police arrive and Megan appears to be dead. After some time, however, Gemma's smart home device abruptly activates, indicating that Megan has uploaded herself into it to monitor Katie. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to get our daily movies, and check some more awesome movies here.